Welcome to the Meta Cinema channel. Today we will talk about a movie called Hatching. Spoilers ahead, so enjoy watching. The movie opens in the suburbs where we jump to young 12-year-old gymnast Tina, who's living with her little brother Matthias and her mother and father. Her mother works as internet influencer, so she is filming the daily life of her loving family. We see they are all happy and enjoying a sunny morning in their seemingly perfect everyday life. Just as they finish recording, a loud thought on the window startles them and breaks their serene moment. Tina opens the window to check out the commotion, and a crow suddenly flies into the room. The family attempts to catch it but is having a very hard time as the crow starts breaking furniture as it flies chaotically throughout the living room. Tina finally manages to catch the bird by trapping it within a towel. She wants to let the bird go outside, but her mother tells her to bring it to her, and when she does, she suddenly twists its neck, killing it. She tells her shocked daughter to take it to the organic trash. She does as instructed and heads back, but a moment later we see the dead bird flinch back to life. Tina is observing her new neighbor playing happily with her pet dog. We see sadness in her eyes, remembering what happened to the bird earlier. The girl notices her and introduces herself as Retta. She says her family just moved in next door to her. Tina asks to pet the dog, and when she does, the dog bites her. The girl apologizes for her dog's behavior. That night Tina joins her mother, who's editing the video they filmed earlier of their perfect daily life for her blog. Tina points out that her toes in the video are not pointed out, but her mother reassures her that she will edit it out. Tina also mentions the new family that moved in next door and that she was invited to play together with Retta tomorrow, but her mother reminds her that she needs to practice for the upcoming gymnastics competition. That night she wakes up to loud coin coming from outside her house, and when she goes to check, she finds the crow missing from the trash can. Tina follows the sound into a nearby forest and soon finds the fatally injured crow lying on the ground, possibly the same bird from before. Unable to think of any other solution, she stones the bird to death in order to relieve it of its pain. She then sees a single egg lying just by the dead crow and decides to help it and brings it home with her. The next day Tina is practicing very hard for the upcoming gymnastics competition but fails to make the flip at the end, and the teacher tells her she can't compete unless she can pull off the landing. She does not have many friends at school owing to her shy nature, and also presumably her busy schedule with school and practice sessions. Feeling down, Tina goes for a run and returns home just in time to see her mother commit adultery with a repairman Taro. Tina's mom explains to her that adults sometimes have special friends and to keep this between them. Before she leaves, she says she'll be gone for a few days on a business trip. Tina gently checks on her newly found egg. A few days pass and Tina checks her egg again, but is shocked to find that the egg has grown tremendously. She hides the egg inside her plush toy. She practices for the competition again with her mom present and still fails the flip but is getting better. The teacher says one spot is left to be filled, and we see Retta is also a gymnast and trying for the spot in the competition. Unfortunately for Tina, Retta makes a perfect flip, impressing the teacher. Tina's mother is immediately annoyed and makes her daughter practice all day until her hands bleed. The teacher closes the gym, but Tina stays to practice until she finally manages to make the landing. Later that night Tina checks on the egg, which has grown even more. The egg pulsates and turns red as Tina touches it with her bloody hands from practice. Tina's participation in gymnastics is heavily forced upon her by her mother, who herself used to be a figure skater at one time before sustaining a thigh injury. She also looks for content for her videos and her daughter's being a gymnast. Tina joins her mother, who confesses to her daughter that she is in love with Taro the repairman and that he is the best thing that has ever happened to her. She then says she'll be away next weekend as well. Tina goes back to her room and we see the egg has grown enormously while outside the plush bear. We hear a loud heartbeat coming from the egg as Tina cries about her mother's confession earlier. Her tears fall on the egg and we see it absorbing them all. The anger, pain, and suffering seem to affect the thing growing inside. Then it happens, a loud cracking noise as it begins to hatch. The shell cracks open. Into Tina's horror, a creature's hand comes out. Tina quickly hides in her closet and horrifyingly observes the hatching. A deformed, screeching monstrosity is born. When Tina goes back to look, the monster suddenly appears in front of her. The loud screeching wakes up Tina's father. The monster escapes through the window before it can be seen, and Tina manages to cover the shell's remains before her father comes in. She lies and says a bird came in. The next night, Tiny gets woken up by loud scratching coming from the now boarded window. She goes to investigate and it gets startled as the creature appears. Tina is scared at first but quickly notices the creature sees her as its mother, and that it's crying in pain as a shard of glass has pierced its tiny hand from jumping through the window last night. She quickly pulls the glass out as the creature screams in pain. She notices that it has started to mimic her reactions. They hold hands before she pets it. She notices it smells bad and takes it to the bathroom to wash it. She's no longer afraid of the subtle screeching it produces. They seem to bond together and even playfully tease one another. Their moment is interrupted when Matthias, Tinia's little brother, tries to use the restroom. Tinia manages to stop him from entering in time. After he leaves, Tiny goes to bed and sings a bedtime song to the creature, which is sleeping under her bed. During the night, Retta's dog barks and annoys Tina, which triggers an emotional reaction in the creature as well. Tina seems to be looking through its eyes as it goes out looking for the dog. She wakes up in terror as the creature stands above, drooling down on her face. It pushes her head to the side and she notices the carcass of the beheaded dog. She throws up, which the bird creature eats up afterwards. She buries the dog in her yard in the early morning but is spotted by Matthias. She goes back to her room and pets the creature under her bed. Matthias and her dad enter the room and her father questions why she didn't allow her little brother to use the restroom during the night. Her father notices the stain of blood on her bedsheets above, drooling down on her face. It pushes her head to the side and she notices the carcass of the beheaded dog. She throws up, which the bird creature eats up afterwards. She buries the dog in her yard in the early morning but is spotted by Matthias. She goes back to her room and pets the creature under her bed. Matthias and her dad enter the room and her father questions why she didn't allow her little brother to use the restroom during the night. Her father notices the stain of blood on her bedsheets back from her business trip and she is given a new hairbrush as a gift by her mother. Matthias gets jealous and asks for his gift but is given nothing. He sees the missing dog poster and runs out. Moments later, he comes back carrying the dead dog in his arms. The parents don't believe that Tina did it and scold Matthias for lying and make him go to his room. He pushes his sister out of spite, which awakens the creature's instinct. Matthias goes to Tina's room instead and pokes around until he peeks under the bed and gets attacked. Tina starts convulsing, but her parents manage to slap her back to reality. Tina and her mom run back to her room and after looking around and seeing the torn costume for the competition which her mother bought for Tina, the creature is able to avoid detection. Tina tries to feed it some of the bird food which she bought but it's not interested. She starts eating it instead and vomits it out of her mouth to feed her companion. She notices white hair growing out of the creature's head and also hears it speak Ally out loud, an orphan character in the lullaby. She sings it. She decides to name her companion Ally. That night, Tina has a vivid dream again and sees through the eyes of Ali. Maisha spots the creature but immediately runs away when he notices it's not his sister. Ali goes to Tina's mother but stops itself from attacking at the last moment. Tina's mom wakes up with sticky substance on her hands and thigh. The next morning, Tina brushes the newly grown hair on Ali and dresses her up. She uses a mirror to show her how she looks, but Ally looks away in disgust. Tina reassures her that she is beautiful. Tina goes back to practice gymnastics, but Retta outshines her performance again in front of Tina's mother. Her mom approaches the girls and condescendingly tells Tina she has to work extra hard to beat Retta for the spot. She offers Rita a ride back home, but Retta refuses, saying she likes to walk. We see Ali escaping the closet where she was locked in. Tina feels something strange and sinister happening elsewhere and begs her mother to turn back but gets ignored. Rita notices she is being stalked and not long after she turns to see the disfigured Ali behind her. Tina starts to convulse but is able to get her senses back thanks to her mom. Her mother plays down her concerns, saying that she is stressed due to the upcoming competition, so she suggests for Tina to spend the weekend with her and her lover Taro. When they get back home, Tina runs back to her room to find Ally gone and she sees she has shed her beak and is transforming into A human. The next morning during breakfast, Tina's mom mentions that they are going to Taro. When she is done eating, we see that her husband is aware of the infidelity but can only smile and wish them a happy trip. Tina's mom drives to Taro's house for the weekend. The man welcomes them and is revealed to be a widower whose wife had passed away during childbirth, and he now lives alone with his baby daughter Helmi. As night comes, the house creaks and creepy noises can be heard. Tina is startled when she finds Ali standing at the window. She brings her in her bed and tells her everything will be okay. Next morning, Tina's mom gets a phone call during breakfast and is informed about an incident involving Retta. Tina goes to visit her in the hospital and sees the disfigured Red on the hospital bed with her hand missing. Tina goes back to her room crying and Ali opens the closet. Tina is very angry at Ali and starts slapping herself instead. Because she knows Ali can feel her pain, Ali stops her and hugs her. Next morning, Tina wakes up to see Ali's transformation to be nearly complete and notices she is becoming her doppelganger. She goes outside and practices in front of Taro to show off her skill, but is failing to do basic tricks. Taro is being nice towards Tina and applauds her efforts regardless of her mother's approval and reminds her that being the best at everything should not always be the intention of life. Their conversation is cut short by Ali screeching. Tina runs back to the house and a few moments later we see her feeding Ali. Tara gets suspicious and looks around the house before trying to go in Tina's room. After a few pushes he enters but sees Ali instead, who charges at him. His hand gets stuck as Tina hides on the other side. He manages to get away. Later, Tina apologizes to Tara for her behavior and says she packed to leave, but Tara is too nice and tells her it's okay and that she can stay, even though he acknowledges she might have psychological problems. Tina's mom comes home and tells her daughter to practice before the competition, which she's going to attend because of Retta's accident. The baby wakes up because of Tina's mother loud shouting and she goes to comfort it. Tina gets a feeling of jealousy because of her mother having more affection towards another person's baby than her. She notices Ali watching through the window upstairs. She begs her mother to take Helmi with her, but she refuses and says they will stay back. The girl is scared to leave Tara alone with baby Helmi as she knows for certain that Ali would attack them. Tina begs Ali to stop but is interrupted by the teacher, who says she is next. She begins her performance. As Ali opens the door to Helmi's room, she stops mid-performance as she looks through Ali's eyes, who raises a hatchet above the baby. She purposefully drops down the bar and falls down on her wrist. The plan works as Ali shrieks out in pain and drops the hatchet from her hand. The noise alarms Taro and he rushes to the room to save his daughter from any harm and sees Ali jump out of the window. Meanwhile, Tina's mother puts up a happy face for the audience. When Tina and her mother return to Taro's house, he refuses to let them in, saying that he just saw Tina try to kill his daughter. When her mother tries to convince him that she was with her at all times, Tara dismisses her too and refuses to let her stay any longer as Tiny tries to apologize to her mother inside their car. The latter has a terrible burst of anger and frustration as she incessantly bangs her head on the steering wheel. While screaming very loudly, they come home and Tina looks at her perfectly dysfunctional family and their reaction to all that is happening. After returning to her room, Ali scratches the window to get her attention, but Tina is having none of it and pushes her out. She goes to apologize to her mother, who tries shooting a video inside her room pretending to be all happy and cheerful. Her mother tells her to take a bath because she stinks due to her being around Ali too much. While Tina takes a bath, Ali sneaks back inside the house and into the closet. When Tina's mom finds her and thinks it's her daughter, she starts to brush Ali and offends her that she is disgusting. She rips a large part of her hair out and Tina hears Ali scream. Ali tries to hug and soaks her nails in the mother's back just as Tiny comes into the room and stops Ali from killing her. Her mother is in shock when she sees the two standing side by side. Tina tells Ali to go away and that nobody wants her. Ali screams loudly and tears her cheeks apart by the rejection. Tina then explains everything to her mother, who now supports and consoles her daughter, saying that everything will get back to being normal. She takes 2 kitchen knives and gives one to Tina and also informs the father and Matthias about the situation. Tina's mother looks around her daughter's room and in her closet, but doesn't find anything until she gets attacked from behind by Ally. She manages to reach her knife in time and stab Ally in the thigh, which also hurts Tina. After making her intention clear that she was going to kill Ali, Tina has second thoughts and tries to stop her mother from stabbing Ally, but ends up in the crossfire and gets stabbed instead. She falls on top of Ally, who drinks her blood and magically heals her torn cheeks and regains her human senses. She now utters the word mother. The mother looks up at it to see her daughter Tina staring at her with some wound marks around her mouth and lips, suggesting that Ally's transformation into Tina is now complete. As this crazy movie draws to a close, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and have a nice day.